Thank you very much, Hannah, for such a great introduction. I'm very excited and happy to share some of my thoughts on regarding the artificial intelligence. As was already mentioned by my colleague Magdalena, the working group politics is drafting a report. So some of the information that I will present tonight is the research that was collected while writing the report. I did not study computers or artificial intelligence in the university, but it does interest me when it comes to public policy issues. For example, how can artificial intelligence improve today's healthcare, or how can artificial intelligence system provide better transport for our citizens? So I personally believe that artificial intelligence will play a major role in various industries and public policy issues. So that's why I agreed to be part of the working group, and I agreed to actually work and present this year report whenever it will be done. So I think I will start my presentation, and I would like to mention that you can write your comments in the chat during the presentation, or after I'm done with my presentation, you'll have the opportunity to ask directly if you have any questions, and I'm actually looking forward to having a productive and interesting discussion with all of you. I will just now try to share my screen, so please let me know if it works. So the outline of today's presentation is the following. Robots as the starting point. What is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence in today's world, implications for artificial intelligence development, conclusions, and a Q&A session. So the starting point of any discussion regarding artificial intelligence is the robot. Robots are designed to do jobs that prior were done primarily by humans. And I think a good example of such robots, I have a picture here, is the robots installed in an auto factory. So a robot itself is not intelligent, but it simulates intelligence. So I think an important aspect that when we are talking about robots, that we need to underline and never forget that there is no learning involved. So the robot, it does exactly what it was programmed to do. There's no learning component involved in any robot operation. I would like to contrast this with artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence, while it is not robotics, but robots around the world are fitted with artificial intelligence systems, and they are tasked to do certain operations. So an artificial intelligence system uses mathematical algorithms, which are a step-by-step instructions that they can sort, filter, and select from a large database of information. So any artificial intelligence system must contain a learning component. As I previously mentioned, simple robots do not have this capability, while an artificial intelligence system must contain this learning component. And the system can learn to identify and interpret any digital information. For example, they can learn to identify images, sounds, speech, text, or any data. An artificial intelligence system uses computer application to statistically analyze the available information and estimate the probability of a particular event. And later in my presentation, I will give concrete examples of how this is happening. And also, artificial intelligence takes information about the past and tries to make predictions about the future. So this is in a nutshell what is an artificial intelligence system and how it actually is different from robots. Although robots, as I said, are the starting point of any discussion when it comes to artificial intelligence. So where can we see artificial intelligence, or where is artificial intelligence used in these days? The vast majority of the global population, I think more than 70% of the entire population, uses an iPhone or an Android phone. So we have Siri and Alexa are the digital assistants based on an artificial intelligence system. For example, I recently bought some airline stock. Maybe some of you know that the prices are rather low, so I thought it would be a good bargain to buy some airline stock. And since then, the Siri on my phone has been suggesting me to check the stock prices every time the markets are open. I did not tell Siri to do that. I did not ask Siri to do that, but it just learned from the fact that I bought the airline stock, and now every time it suggests that maybe you should check the airline stock. Another example that we have in our iPhones is that most of the iPhones have now the option to optimize battery charging. What does it mean? In order to reduce battery aging, Apple decided to allow iPhone to learn from my daily charging routine, and now it figures the optimal charging time. So the keyword here again is the learning component. It either learns from my daily routine and then adapts and makes actions according to that learning component that is happening. Everyone has been doing online shopping. Another example where AI is used is in online shopping, and everybody's been doing online shopping, especially in these times of national lockdowns due to coronavirus epidemic. But every time we buy something or just surf on the web, it actually leaves a track or a mark behind. And this mark contains data about our web shopping or web surfing. And another personal example, I recently, because we were stuck at home so long, I recently bought a digital version of Monopoly. It's a board game. So I wanted to play it with my daughters on my PlayStation. So I decided to buy one. And now every time I'm on Facebook or I'm on Amazon, the system automatically proposes various updates and add-ons for these games that are designed to enhance my gaming experience. So these artificial systems is actually they're continuously following us online, everything that we do, and it allows the system to suggest us stuff based on our previous shopping experience. Another example would be healthcare, and lately we have seen an increased. We have experienced an exponential growth in using AI systems in healthcare. And a great example would be an AI system which compares your X-ray with hundreds of others taken during some time, and then it comes out with a diagnosis almost instantly. And some of the research I found actually proved the fact that the diagnosis established by an artificial intelligence system is actually more accurate than some of the diagnoses made by doctors. Again, if we are using a real life example with the COVID-19, China has been using aggressively artificial intelligence systems algorithms during the COVID-19 pandemic in order to help the doctors make decisions in determining which patients should be treated in the hospital or which patients should be sent home. And here in my presentation, we actually have a picture of how an NI system based on an X-ray can determine if there is pneumonia in lungs or not. And the expectation is that artificial system will start to play a bigger role in our healthcare systems around the world. Another example of AI usage is autonomous cars. And autonomous cars are run by artificial intelligence, and this raises increasingly important ethical questions because the system needs to be programmed with some kind of morality. What should the car avoid, and what should the car be allowed to hit? And one of the major challenges for autonomous cars is centered around the fact of how does an autonomous car value the human life? Who decides who lives and who dies in split-second decision making? Uh, who decides the value of human life over another life? For example, if you have a hypothetical situation, should the unstoppable car hit a group of pedestrians, or a wall that would actually kill the driver itself who is behind in the car driven by artificial intelligence? And I think these are very difficult and tough questions that uh, that policymakers and scientists they have not been answered by policymakers or researchers in this field. And the last aspect that I would like to mention when it comes to artificial intelligence usage is the social control aspect, because face recognition has also achieved great progress as well over just several years. But all the cameras that we have nowadays in our cities, our towns, our countries, that are used to catch the bad guys can be used for surveillance and social control, and this also raises difficult questions. I mean, are there usages as well that I did not mention here, but I just can say that, for example, we have, besides autonomous cars, we have now autonomous weapons or drones that we can, should we allow drone to make a decision whom to kill or whom not to kill? And this, I think, are difficult questions that in the near future that we will have to come up with policy answers and how to regulate this specific aspect. And one of them, I mean, why I agreed to write the report and why we, I think, proposed actually this topic is now, how should we as Christians think about artificial intelligence? How should we engage with artificial intelligence? And I am proposing three main problems that I see from our Christian perspective when it comes to tackling and thinking about artificial intelligence. I think the first major fear that we need to address when we talk about artificial intelligence is that it might represent an attempt to create something that is a hybrid of human and artificial intelligence. Because most of the examples I mentioned just several slides ago is that it's pretty much a rather narrow artificial intelligence, and it works very well in a well-defined environment. But every time we actually talking about artificial intelligence, and if we analyze some of the investments that happen in the artificial intelligence sector, then we see that artificial intelligence is not meant to stop at those digital assistants or digital shopping or anywhere. It's actually there is a specific attempt to create a hybrid of human and artificial intelligence, some sort of a biological hybrid. And I think this is rather problematic when it comes from if we tackle this issue from a Christian point of view. The second problem that we might have is that what happens is if an artificial intelligence is out of control, because we as human beings know where it all starts. We know that where the artificial intelligence starts, but I don't think anybody knows what is the conclusion or the end point of an artificial system. And here I have a picture of the 2001 A Space Odyssey. It's a rather old movie. I think it was made in 1968. But in the movie itself, we have a threat from a computer that actually becomes more intelligent than the human being. So is this something that we should be afraid of? Will we ever experience machines that will be more intelligent or more capable than the human being? And I think this is also a rather important problem that we need to be aware of when we tackle the artificial intelligence aspect. And the third major problem that I see with artificial intelligence is that it is an attempt to redefine our human uniqueness. As I said, I think this is closely related to the first problem that I mentioned, that there is some sort of a desire of creating a hybrid of human and artificial intelligence that might be an attempt to redefine our human uniqueness. So I will now try to see how we can actually, what can we do in practice? Because I mean, I described what is an artificial intelligence. I tried to point out some of the major problems I see with artificial intelligence, and now what does it mean in practice for us as Christians when we discuss in public square the issue of artificial intelligence. So I came up with 4 implications for artificial intelligence. One of the major assumptions in artificial intelligence, if we analyze the research and everything that is happening around the world, one of the main assumptions in the artificial intelligence field has generally been that if it works often enough to be useful, then it's good enough. But I think that attitude is not really appropriate when the stakes are that high. And when we talk about the stakes, please remember those 3 main problems that I mentioned from a Christian point of view. Because if it is absolutely fine if auto tagging people in photos turns out to be only 90% reliable, because it is just about their personal photos that people post on Facebook or Instagram. But it better be much more reliable when the police, for example, if the police start using the system to find suspects in surveillance photos. So this is pretty much we need to raise the standards of any artificial systems that is being developed. The second implication for artificial intelligence, I think, is that good engineers always design for failure, because no one can anticipate in detail all the different ways that the things can go wrong. So that it is very important that any artificial system that is being designed, that it's designed for failure as well. Because if we need to have backup systems that they can be called upon when the unexpected happens. And a good practical examples, for example, we have bicycles that they have both front brakes and rear brakes. The same thing happens in cars. When NASA designed the space shuttle is not being used anymore, but when the space shuttle program was designed, the space shuttle was designed with 5 identical computers on board. So as long as any of the 5 computers were still running, the shuttle could be operated. So it is very important that the scientists and engineers who work with artificial intelligence, that they design for failure and have these backup systems that will not allow any artificial system to go out of spiral out of control. Constant maintenance. Once a new technology is deployed, it has to be maintained. Again, if we look at cars need to be serviceable. I mean, drivers change tires, change oil. So the same thing happens with operating systems. Again, Microsoft, Apple, they always come up with updates that improve the software. So, and this is absolutely true for any artificial system as well. We need to have this constant maintenance of any designed artificial system. Again, as we have seen, for example, with COVID-19, if a virus can reproduce itself and there's nothing to stop, then its population increases exponentially. So the same thing to a degree can happen to a poorly designed artificial system. And the fourth point that I think we see practical implications for engaging with artificial assistance is we need to ask for more transparency, because at the moment, both the internal operations and the ultimate goals of some of the artificial intelligence tools being designed are somewhat opaque and closed. We don't really know what's the end goal of any system. And artificial intelligence scientists must actively do their best to stay away from building systems that have the potential to spiral out of control. And a good example would be, because we don't really know what are the consequences, I think any research in creating robots that could design and build other robots should be done only with extreme care and under clear supervision. Because if we have a robot that can design another robot, again, this can create this can bring a rather dangerous perspective. So that's why it is so important to have good transparency in terms of the operations of any system and the ultimate purpose of the system that is being created. So I will try to come up with several conclusions, and then we can open the floor for questions. So I think any artificial system has the power of great good and great harm. Thus, again, as I said a couple of times, it is very important to have clear, transparent, and realistic communication involved among all parties. Because there are forms of intelligence which, if artificial and if out of control, that could be incredibly damaging and dangerous for humans. Ultimately, any artificial intelligence tools should help people regain healthier notions about the purpose in life in general. And we as Christians especially should strive to direct people the impacts of any artificial systems in a way that it will help live life to the fullest and bless the community, cities, and countries where they live. I don't think that we should worry about any machine becoming more intelligent than human beings, although there's a lot of speculation in this area. From the research and from what other Christian leaders and thinkers are saying and writing in this field, I think we should, at this stage, we should not worry about, again, machine becoming more intelligent than humans, because human intelligence is not merely machine intelligence, such as algorithms or analytics. It is about emotions, and it is spiritually defined. I mean, we are made in the image of God, and no machine can replicate this. I think the Professor Melucham from University of Alabama, he does this, he makes this point rather well, because when he says that artificial intelligence is still artificial, and the artificial intelligence is real, because as I said, a lot of examples that I brought that it simulates intelligence in a rather limited way. We have X-ray, face recognition, driving a car, but the artificial intelligence is still real. And I think this is the good thing about artificial intelligence. And I think I would like to read the entire quote, because I think it makes the point really well. It seems to me that a lot of needless debate could be avoided if artificial intelligence researchers would admit that there are fundamental differences between machine intelligence and human intelligence, differences that cannot be overcome by any amount of research. In other words, artificial intelligence is real. As I said, artificial intelligence can bring great good, but it can bring great harm if it is not done in a proper way. We as Christians should know what are the problems, what are the limits, and what are the dangers of exploring artificial intelligence. And I think we have 4 good implications for us. Is if any of us is engaged with policymakers, then we need to strive to make this limits and make sure that any artificial research is done in a proper way, in a transparent way, that will be used for flourish, that will help to flourish the development of any sector, and not bring more damage or good. So I think I will end my presentation here. These are some of the points that are included in the report. Of course, the report will be written by several people, so we'll have some other aspects that will be touched in the report as well. But I am more than open to end the presentation here, and then we'll pass it again to Edward, and then we can have a discussion if you have any other questions. So I'm really looking forward to having an interactive discussion with you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stas. Everybody, if you have any questions to Stas regarding artificial intelligence and Christian perspective on artificial intelligence, or maybe our technical director on this conversation, Edward, will ask some questions that were posted on Facebook and other social media. We'll also invite you to visit our website. I will post it on chat right now. And you're welcome to ask questions, please.
Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me. I've never talked so far and with Zoom here. And one thing, and then a question, for me it's kind of like I have a bit trouble with the definition of artificial intelligence, because for me as an electrical engineer, artificial intelligence is more than just learning. I mean, learning kind of is one field, while it due to machine learning and deep learning gets like a big field, but like there are also like other tasks like task planning or stuff which no learning is involved, which is also like artificial intelligence, like from a scientific point of view. Just I mean, it's kind of for me a bit, I mean, like I'm also like more the modern AI, like from my education point of view. And like when I talk at work with other colleagues, then they really don't like machine learning. That's like but they are in the field of artificial intelligence, which is something like I had like recently like figure out. And then one first question, I don't know on which slide, but it's like that artificial intelligence is a hybrid between like some between some algorithmic and human. I didn't get this, what the meaning is. And also I guess it's also kind of interesting in a, I mean, as engineer, I most often don't have this perspective, and therefore I'm quite interested in this view.
Should we take more, or we just go one by one?
I think we can go one by one.
Okay. Thank you, Andreas, for the question. As I presented, I think when I was describing artificial intelligence, I mentioned that learning is a important component, but it's not the only component of any artificial intelligence, because I mentioned 4 points. That is, it uses mathematical algorithms, and it's like they have instructions on a step-by-step to do. It can sort or filter and process large databases, and the crucial aspect is that it can learn to identify. So you don't need to tell it every time what to do. It can actually grow from a specific algorithm, and then it has this learning component, and it has the possibility to statistically analyze and probability and present as the probability of a particular event in the future. It can analyze the past and makes predictions about the future. So, but I just wanted to point out that learning is very important, because it is the distinction between any robot and artificial system, because a simple robot would not have the capacity to learn. So it cannot do anything outside the program it was designed to, while artificial intelligence system have that capacity. But I completely agree with you that it does not stop only learning, and artificial intelligence is not only about learning. The thing that I was not say this was on the slide with how should we as Christians think about artificial intelligence. So there's specific research being done. It's like and artificial intelligence is not being studied only in a narrow point of view. They're talking about general artificial intelligence, and even Elon Musk is trying to, I think he's having research in that. It's trying to create if we can transfer our information from our brain to a digital computer that will operate. So there's talk about creating this immortality of the human brain and trying to transfer everything that we have in our brains to a digital platform that will actually mean will we live forever. So there is a specific fear that there is that some of the research that is being done in artificial intelligence is not only about a narrow field, but it's about creating a kind of hybrid of biological, technological human being that will try to connect our brain to, for example, to a digital heart or to a computer that will actually have connections to our brain. So I'm not saying that is happening right now. It's just we as Christians need to approach this field with being very careful, because there is attempts that, as I said, I think Elon Musk was tweeting about it several weeks ago. I don't have the tweet right now, but we might include it in our report, that there is actually attempts to try to create this biological hybrid of human and artificial intelligence. But that's as I said, I was just pointing out that some of the questions that we need to keep in mind when tackling artificial intelligence. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much for the answer.
Are there any other questions, or we can ask questions from Facebook? So, Edward, do you have any questions from our social media?
Yes, we do. We have a question coming from Elijah Karaseni, and the question is there the difference between security and control in artificial intelligence area? Is there a difference between security and control in AI area?
I'm having a little bit of a hard time understanding the question. Is there a difference between security and control in an AI area?
Maybe like for how it's used, like for like security, for example, like you have some detection and you can do good, like prevent some stuff for happening, but it can also be harmful. Like in China, when you go over the street with face recognition, it knows who you are and you immediately out and get a text that $50 are out of your bank account because you crossed the street and you're not supposed to be. And I think a lot of researchers are actually not really aware that for what the stuff they do can be used. I think a lot of just are really curious about the tech and the science, but I think there it's, from my point of view, definitely like need to be careful like how it's used. It's for military or to help humans and so on.
Well, okay, thank you for. I think yes, there. I mean, that's why I was saying that the line between security and control is rather blurred. I mean, of course, it is. Nobody will admit that a lot of systems are designed for controlling the human population, because everybody is being designed to secure or increase the safety of the human population. But again, we know the human being and we know how easy it is to abuse this aspect of security, and then it is very easy to go on the other side and actually start to control the population. And of course, I think Andres brought the example of China, and that's correct. I think they are actually now piloting various systems with points based on camera and face recognition. So people I know if you cross, for example, you cross the street in a place that prohibits crossing street, then you can deduct you from points, and then you you have a good behavior, then you're being rewarded with points. So that's one of the aspects that the AI systems are being piloted. And of course, this is a very, from my point of view, from a Christian point of view, this is a rather dangerous development when you have a system that punishes and rewards you based on just what you do on your daily life. I think I will again underline this example that at this stage, no, artificial systems are still not being properly tested, and the margin of error is way higher than in any other field. For example, if you are designing a car or you're designing an airplane, the stress tests for those industries are way higher than the stress tests now for any artificial system that is being designed. For example, again, if you come to a real life example, Facebook, sometimes whenever I post a picture of my family, the Facebook said that my dad is actually my mom. So again, that's a mistake that the artificial intelligence is making. It's done on Facebook, so of course I just say that that's my father and that's my mom. That's correct. That the harm is very little. But again, if you are using the same algorithms in finding criminals on the street, and you out of 100 people, every 10 or 15 people are being identified as wrong people, then obviously that's a very dangerous path. So again, we need to increase the stress tests. So whenever any system or algorithm is designed, we need to make sure that it has an increased reliability, and you can actually trust the system that it does what it's supposed to do, and the margin of error is very limited. But again, that's face control and social control is one of the area that we can see AI usage, but we need to be very careful what type of systems are being designed and what types of algorithms are being used for that. And some countries, like I didn't really check the latest number, but one research paper was actually saying that, for example, the UK has more cameras than the entire North America. So I mean, that's how many cameras you have in the United Kingdom, and the government or the police has a capacity to pretty much find anyone if they really want to. So that's something that we need to make sure that the algorithm, again, I was saying the importance of transparency. It is very important to share and see how are the algorithms designed and if they are doing what they're supposed to do.
Thank you for your answer. And we have a question in our chat by Silvana. Maybe Silvana is still here and she wants to ask it by herself, or otherwise I will read it.
I'm here. The camera's off, sorry. What do you think about Facebook and eavesdropping? Like, for example, you're talking about something. A lot of friends of mine had experienced that moment, like you're just talking about something, like you didn't even Google it. But like the next day or a few days after, it will pop up as an advert.
Yeah, I did. I mean, that's this is actually maybe the next step, because I did mention the aspect of the AI systems already monitor everything you do. For example, if you buy something, then obviously you'll receive various or similar products to whatever you bought. The thing with eavesdropping, I mean, I know several people mentioned this to me, that they were just thinking about stuff, or they talked on the phone with somebody about something, and then the next day they're in their news feed, you have something that appeared. For example, you were thinking about going to a trip or then vacation or an Airbnb place. I did not really do research in that. I'm not sure if it was, I mean, to what degree it is proven that Facebook or any other AI system has actually control of your microphone. I know that there have been security gaps, and even Apple and they release, sometimes they released an updated version for their FaceTime app, for example, because they had observed that sometimes FaceTime was using your microphone without you allowing it, or whenever the application was closed, and that obviously, of course, that can happen, and I think it's still happening. That again brings that point that any system that is being designed still has a lot of security breaches that are still happening. And I know, I'm not sure if any of the people, for example, who are here, but I know that some of my colleagues at work, they always have they always cover their camera, because they are afraid that somebody is using the camera without you being notified. Again, but I think it all comes to security breaches that are happening. I'm not sure that anybody is doing this on purpose at this stage, because again, this is illegal, and it's not nobody is allowed to access your microphone and camera without you allowing it. But security breaches do happen, so I think we need to address that, and it comes again to that stress testing about any systems that are being designed. We need to know what is the purpose of the system, and we need to know why specific apps that we use on our phone, why do they request using the microphones. I think we because of the social pressure, we have seen more transparency on the companies, and every time Apple updates their system, they will, for example, they already have specific app that will show you which app and when it used your microphone and camera, and you can see if you authorized that or not. So I think, but I personally, I did not experience what you just said with eavesdropping and Facebook, but I know that some people did, but I'm not sure if it was related to them saying, or they maybe actually Googled it, and then from there. I know that from the digital mark is there, and if you're doing something on Google or buying it, then obviously they will connect the dots, and you will see the ad in your feed. But with eavesdropping, and I think that again, we should really push on digital companies to make this illegal, and it should not be legal to anyone outside people should not be allowed to use our microphone and camera whenever we are not authorizing it to do.
I think it's sometimes also a bit like a problem with the transparency, in like that, like earlier it was, or like the last decade, or also currently was like the companies, like the value was like the software that engineers created. And these days it's not longer the software. Like often, like when they make publications, also not just for academia, also like from companies like Google, they give you the software, the learning algorithm, but they don't give you the data. So like it's kind of pretty useless for others, but you see like the learning model, but with the data not. So and that's kind of, I feel it's a bit dangerous, because you don't know, do they really spy on you or not? I mean, we don't know. I mean, I guess it's really interesting for them to actually do, because you get like you're better than your competitor, and I mean, people may want to find out. So I think it would be kind of, I mean, it's also hard like for smaller companies, when you're not like a giant and can't collect so many data, you actually out. I mean, you can't compete with bigger companies, but also like it's hard for people saying you have to show all your data, because then it's like kind of you can, yeah, it's like maybe your business will fail, because a lot of companies these days merge just a lot of money with collecting data. So I think it's a really interesting policy discussion. I'm really don't know what the solution would be, but I think it's kind of important and interesting also to save our privacy.
Yeah, I think we actually have a question from Matthias. Could we extend the question on the topic of privacy and artificial intelligence? I think, I mean, I will make a note, and of course, the privacy aspect will be treated in the upcoming report. I did not really talk about privacy in my presentation here, because privacy is not, I think it doesn't only relate to artificial intelligence. I mean, we can make it relatable, but the issue of privacy does not come only in discussion of artificial intelligence. The issue of privacy, I mean, comes up with any other any other aspects, and I try to just to point out the difficult questions that we relate to AI. But I will make a note, Matthias, and we will definitely have a sub-chapter on the issue of privacy and artificial intelligence. And I said I'm all for, if you have suggestions that should be included in the report. Yeah, I'm not an artificial intelligence expert. It's just a field of interest for me. And as I said, from a public policy perspective, I'm interested in transport policies, and I'm trying to see how, for example, any AI system can help us in design better transport to understand what is happening on our streets. So you're more than welcome to jump up and come up with other ideas and aspects or problems that we need and we should address. So I'm not here. I'm not talking to you only just as an expert. It's just it's a interesting field for me, and I'm just studied it on my own. So you're more than welcome to mention your ideas as well. Any other questions on Facebook, Andrei?
Edward, do we have any other questions? Or maybe anyone from the participants want to stress some?
Can I?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not really known by artificial intelligence, like basic, I think, but like the things I know is mostly about robots who are really human-like. Like, do you think there will be, they need to draw the line? Because you now also have in the news, people have romantic relationships with an AI, and like, what's your opinion about that? Like, yeah, okay, Christians, seriously, that's like, you'll get a, I don't know if someone else has an opinion about it.
Oh, that's I would say an interesting question.
Bam.
Interesting question. I think we are not that close to being able to create robots that are like human-like. But obviously, even at this stage, as you mentioned, some people are already having some sort of relationships with an AI. I mean, again, I think for us as Christians, this is rather clear cut. What relationship is acceptable and what relationship is not acceptable. I think I will come up to the implication that I mentioned in my presentation, that it should be there should be some sort of a policy guidelines in what is allowed and what is not allowed to happen. I think my biggest fear is that we should be very careful when we're talking about robots creating other robots, because every time we can connect it to, we know the traceability, we know who is the creator, then we can find solutions if something goes wrong. I think the fear now is here that what happens when we design a robot and that robot designs another robot, because again, then the creator is not a human being, but is a robot who was already created by a human being. And I think this is a dangerous thing, because again, it is easier when you can assure traceability to the human creator and know exactly what was going on when that robot was created. And I still I don't think that we are, again, my understanding is that artificial intelligence will remain artificial. I'm not in our lifetime, but I don't know if ever that any machine artificial will be able to match the human aspect or human level of artificial of intelligence. I'm not sure if this can happen, but again, we know where artificial intelligence starts, but we don't know where it ends. So that's why, because we don't know where it ends, and because it is so difficult to anticipate those unintended consequences, that's why I think it is important to have at the country level or EU level or at any other levels where people are engaging with artificial intelligence, we need to have clear guidelines of what is allowed and what is not allowed, what research can happen, what cannot happen. But obviously, this will be rather difficult. I mean, we are witnessing the whole debate with COVID-19. Did it escape the Wuhan laboratory? Was it created, or did it just happen naturally? I mean, obviously, there's distrust between countries. I mean, of course, at this level, it would be rather difficult to have for example, a global guideline of what is allowed or what is not allowed, because we are seeing in other fields as well that countries do not trust each other, and it is very difficult to see if did the virus escape the laboratory, just happen to exist in nature. So again, from this point of view, I think, and the fear is that at this stage we are not seeing clear guidelines and policy guidelines in any country or even at the EU level. So that's why some of the research is raises questions, because we're not seeing clear guidelines to what is allowed and what is not. And it comes again, I'll bring that there is not enough backup in the systems whenever an artificial system is designed. There's not enough stress testing in the programs that are being designed, and these aspects need to be addressed if we want to prevent a dangerous path that might happen in the future. I mean, that's how I see this thing.
Okay, so are there any other questions? We can make a conclusion. And
there is a question coming from Clariska, the president of ECPYouth. And Clariska is interested, would you please expand just a little bit on the role of Christians in this topic as Christian policymakers and politicians?
Okay. I mean, one specific aspect that I think we should worry about and should press for is, again, the transparency. At this moment, I understand that Andreas mentioned that some of maybe proprietary information, that's commercial information. Of course, companies do not want to share that information, but still, I think the transparency aspect is crucial if you want to make sure that we know what is happening. And I mentioned this in my presentation. I think that's what we really need to worry about, is that we need to press for more transparency when it comes what is the purpose of the AI tools and what are some of the internal operations that any AI system is being has whenever it makes decisions. Another aspect is, I will stress it again, is making sure that the AI that is being designed is it's good enough to be used in for general population. As I said, at this moment, the standards that we have in AI are rather relaxed, and they're not comparable to any other industry that we have. So we need to make sure that at the country level or the EU level, we have we as Christians, whenever we engage with policymakers, we need to make sure that we have good standards whenever AI research is happening, and whenever robots are being created, and whenever those robots are being fitted with AI. We need to know what AI systems are being fitted for those robots. We need to make sure that any AI system that is being designed, it has the capacity to fail. What happens when it fails? It's again needs to be a concrete guideline on being a part of any AI research. We need to make sure that good engineers design for failure. I mean, that happens in cars. Cars have crash testing. We do not have any crash testing system for AI at the moment. So I think we as Christians, again, I see it as one of our roles that we make sure that we push for this crash testing as it happens in other, for example, with cars. We have airbag system, we have seat belts. We do not have those systems being put in place now for an AI. And I think it's one of our mandates of Christians to get involved in this public debate that is happening, and to make sure that such elements as safety elements are being put in the system. And then again, also make sure that any AI system has a constant maintenance. We cannot allow systems just to we cannot allow systems to be created without this constant maintenance. So I see these 4 main points that need to be included in any AI guidelines that are being developed in all countries. And I think I will again say it here. We need to have stress testing. We need to make sure that the system is designed for failure and what happens when the system fails. We need to make sure that there's constant maintenance of the systems, and we need to push for more transparency of the operations and the purpose of any AI system. And I think if we have these 4 points addressed in our national guidelines, then we are moving in a good direction of using AI for better rather than for worse.
I hope now our Clariska, the president, is satisfied with broadened points on the Christian vision of on AI, and of course we will strengthen more of this topic. Yes, she says thank you. Thank you. We will speak more on the topic of AI and the special and Christian perspective on artificial intelligence during our other events, and we hope still to have summer school, either it will be online or offline, on artificial intelligence. So everybody is more than welcome to join us on social media, on Facebook, and on read our website. So you can find more about our future events. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I think I'll just reiterate what you just said. That it's a great point that you just make. That this is just a starting discussion on NI, so it's not. This was not supposed to be a comprehensible overview of an NI and Christian implication and solutions for all questions.
Yeah,
this was one of the first events.
Yeah.
This was one of the first event in our series. So of course, I just tried to make a general overview, raise some points, and what are the dangers and what are some of the implications for us. But most of those points raised, obviously, they could be expanded to a presentation in itself. So again, it's some of the other issues will be maybe discussed more comprehensively in other events.
So are there any other questions? Michael, he's opening his camera. No. Any other? Okay, so if there are no questions left for today, we are welcoming all of you to our next Zoom event on artificial intelligence, with which we plan to held on 13th of June. It is 1 month from now. and we will continue speaking about artificial intelligence and other sites and other how it's called, other points on artificial intelligence, but of course from the Christian perspective on artificial intelligence. We will have another speaker. For now, I want to say thank you to Stas for being so informative for today, and thanks everyone for joining us today, and welcome to join us for our future events. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.